Hello and welcome to episode 191 of the Talking Wednesday podcast. We've changed it up a little bit for you today for the first time in a little while. It's James and Jack.
Yes, I still exist.
Today.
Oh my god, I'm alive. Oh my god.
I think
it's been ages.
We've slagged you off on every podcast the past 4 weeks. So it's good to have you back. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm very shiny today because I've started a skincare routine because this is the new and ultra improved worko with diet plans and exercise plans and skincare routines and all sorts of live, laugh, love, work on yourself, Fiat 500 mottos. And
that's
yeah,
quite funny because you're talking about health and stuff, and I'm sat here slightly hungover. So
yeah, you were telling me that you went to bed last night at 3 a.m. and it's like, nice.
Yeah. Well, what's the point in having
a
Saturday night? No, it's Percy Pig. It's the touring
Percy Pig.
Marks and Spencers.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll have you know, it's the Tory one. Oh,
I'll have you know. Yeah, I haven't got Marks and Spencer's money, but for some reason we've got this mug. So there we go.
Nice.
But yeah, I decided to have a bit of a video gaming sesh last night, and one beer led to another, and now I'm doing the podcast in my glasses, which is always a sign that something's not quite right. But yeah, the professionalism of this is because I decided to. I said, "Oh yeah, let's do it," because I wasn't very well yesterday morning. So yeah, I thought let's go and get drunk in the evening. But no, I felt I felt good like in the evening, and then sort of like had a really fun night being a nerd.
Nice.
But then this morning, realizing that we were doing the podcast in the early morning, and regretted all of my life. It's funny because like there's a message, I think I sent Soph a message when she was asleep, literally next to me, and I was like, it was like 2:00 in the morning. I say, right, when I've done the podcast, let's go and do all the shopping, let's go and do all of this, let's get this done, and then we can maybe even go for a Mackey's on the way back. So
nice.
Productive day. And then I woke up, looked at that message and went, forget all of that, we're not doing that. Do you know, you just got that.
Nah, so that
drug
burst. No. Yeah,
a drug burst of no, we're not doing that. Because I've also got to I've got to sit and edit this, and then I've got to sit and edit a career mode and do all of that. So I'm not leaving.
Oh yeah, FC25's out now, isn't it?
Yes.
Is it any good? Is it like
it's great? It's great. You don't watch the podcast anymore, do you, Jack?
Well, I've been busy. Just kind of. I don't know.
At least you're not lying. It's very obvious you're not watching the podcast because how are you doing in the draft, Jack?
Well, I've been informed that I'm doing very well. Apparently.
Oh, Jake's been feeding you information.
I only got the one thing about the draft. Apparently, that I'm doing very well. That I've picked very well.
Yes, you've looked out. To be fair,
I've looked out. Yeah.
You're second. You're behind me by I think it's 8 points or something. Basically overall. So you're doing very well. Jake's absolutely ruined. Like Chalobah and McNeil have basically.
No.
However, you've just picked up Shea Charles last week because we did the steal thing. So it's going to be interesting. You've still got Valerie though, so.
Oh Christ!
But he's good at points. Anyway,
he's good at gifting points to other teams anyway. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah, it's always how's your week been, mate? But
I've been up to? The reason that I wasn't on the podcast for so long towards the end of the summer was because I play cricket on a Saturday, and Saturdays are the recording days for the podcast, so I couldn't do both because while the podcast recording was going on, I was in like full cricket whites, getting really muddy, jumping around on a really rainy cricket field. But that's all over now, so I'm back. Hello. And it's all right.
We know where your priorities are, Jack. That's fine.
Yeah. It's only because I've like moved clubs this year, and I just felt like I couldn't kind of go, I've got a podcast to record for an hour rather than a 6-hour game, whatever. But That's kind of what I was.
It's good. It's keep up the sports.
Yes.
I used to like playing cricket. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a fan of watching it. And I'm not allowed to slander cricket, apparently, because some people get upset when I slander cricket.
Honestly, as someone that still plays it now, it's one of the most boring sports to watch you can possibly think of, other than those like the 2020 games. They're fun. But when it's like all day and someone's just going out and just defending every single ball and not going for a expansive shot or something, it's boring. It's so boring. But it's like golf, really. Like, I know that's going to be controversial.
Somebody in my class at school is actually like a professional cricketer now, and he's on TV, and he's like, because my Soph's dad's always watching cricket, and I'm like, I sat next to that guy in maths. Like, it's quite funny to see it. But even that interest of like, oh, I know this person, let's watch this, can't get me through cricket.
Yeah,
It's just so boring.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, no. Yeah, sorry to anybody that it does enjoy cricket that listens to the podcast and whatever. And other than that, I've basically just been... The voice work is very difficult to come by at the moment. It's a bit of a dry well, unless you're basically constantly just in the circle of being reused all the time by people. So I've just been basically just trying to build up my portfolio with things off my own back, pretty much.
Yes,
and that's just how it is at the beginning when you're not a big name or anything. But that's pretty much all.
I know you do, Jack. I know you know what you do, and this is going to sound mean, but it's not. Yeah. You do a lot of comeback videos, and then you do or comeback posts.
I do a comeback post video, and then I suddenly,
you come back for like a week, and then you're like back.
And then, I've noticed this.
So come back and stay back.
Yeah, I need to. Yeah. Basically, I actually did, funnily enough, because it's World Mental Health Day, or it was on the 10th, that no one seems to have actually really talked about anywhere. I did a little thing where I was explaining why I've not been very good at that stuff, and just like I've constantly been afraid of people laughing at me for doing whatever it is that I wanted to do, and I've just need to get out of that habit, really, and just be like, yes, this
I'm a bad friend because I thought I'm going to watch this at some point, but then I realised it was half an hour long, and I was like,
yeah. No, I think that's what a lot of people did. I think that's what a lot of people did.
In points.
We'll save it for a rainy Sunday. Cough, cough. The day of recording this, rainy Sunday. Ideal opportunity. Anyway, but yeah, it was just me diving into like why I've Anyway, but that's just I'm just kind of I'm in a self-building phase again. So how about you, James? How have you been?
You are so like Gen X, Jack.
Really? Oh, I was born in 99, so I'm technically a Gen Z, but Gen X. Oh, that
one, whatever it is.
Yeah,
like Gen Z, Gen Z, as the Americans would call it. Yeah. You are very Gen Z. Like everything you've said just reminds me of every LA actor I've ever met as well, and that's where Gen Z is. Like genuinely, like it's always like when I've been on sets and stuff, it's like, oh, you should come out to LA, man. Like you do really well in LA, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to go to the parties, but it's a case of like,
well, I mean, there's one person whose parties you definitely won't be going to anymore that were quite controversial.
That was the reference.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm glad you're feeling on the up, and
Thank you, James.
I might mock you, but I mock you because I know you, and I feel like I can mock you. Otherwise.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
If I felt like it would push boundaries or be actually mean, I wouldn't mock you. Anyway.
But what about
Sheffield
you, James?
Wednesday have played this.
No.
Yeah, me.
How are you? Come on, James. You know the drill. We know that. I know that I get shouted at if I don't ask how you've been as well.
That was one thing, and you took it. You took it so far, and you rode with it, like literally.
I mean, look, that's most Hollywood does that these days. So just why don't we do it as well? Being the actors that we are.
God. I haven't been in a project in over a year and a half, so I'm like, I'm technically an inactive actor. But yes, the the week has been, I've been all over the shop this week. But yeah, it's just been a normal week, to be honest, mate. It was nice to have the weekend, as I said, like doing all of that. I've got a lot to do today because the day this is recording, the podcast is coming out. So as long as you send me your files on time, we should hit the publish time. But I'll tell you something about Jack behind the scenes. He tends to do a podcast and then go off and disappear for a few hours.
I set the thing to upload and I'm like,
his files.
Yeah, I'm like, 15 minutes. Okay, I'll go and do something else in the meantime. And then I forget that I've got to come back and then send the email with the recorded file for like an hour or so. And it's... Yes. Yeah.
So Jake's files usually hit before I've stopped talking to him on Discord. Like,
it's insane, isn't it? It's actually insane.
His internet is so fast.
Yeah.
I do miss that. But yeah, to be honest, my internet wasn't as fast as Jake's. I think we had half a gig at the end. But yeah, it's nowhere near now. I'm like, now it's like, because I was thinking like, I could stream my rivals games or my squad battles or something. And I was like, there's no way I would be able to stream and play online. Like with any latency on this internet.
Your internet would just die, wouldn't it? Oh, God.
That was that idea out of the way. Yeah. But yes, right, you're not Jake, so we'll see how this goes. Luckily, I've prepped like Jake just in case. But Sheffield Wednesday played Burnley this week after an international... Oh, we'll talk about the international break in a little while. But actually, no, let's do that now. Thomas Tuchel, England manager, what are your thoughts?
I like it. Frankly, I like it. I think it's a great idea, to be honest, because we've gone with... I was always a bit sceptical about Gareth Southgate anyway, and yes, he did lead us to a World Cup semi-final. World Cup semi-final and then Euros final. However, his tactics were abysmal. 2 Euro, yeah. However, his tactics were abysmal, and I hated watching it. And actually, I think with the appointment of Thomas Tuchel, it's actually going to make me start watching England again. Because I gave up watching, even though, we got to very far in international competitions, but I couldn't watch it. It was like watching a cricket game. It felt like watching a cricket game.
Well, he played 2 holding, didn't he? I think Thomas Tuchel will still play a holding, but I think he'll only play 1 holding midfielder. I think he'll play Declan Rice as the holding, and that's it. Because he has been on record in the past that he doesn't want to play attacking football unless he's got a holding midfielder that is of a quality. Yeah. So Declan Rice is obviously that. So we'll see how it works with that, because he has occasionally played 2 number 10s in inverted quotes sort of thing before. So I think there's been a lot of the usual type, and I'm not saying that people get... There's no reason to just be outraged because it's not an English manager. It'd have been Eddie Howe or no one, right? And I don't think, if I think about it, Eddie Howe has not won anything either.
Yeah.
You've got this core group of quality players. Harry Kane is arguably going past his peak, if not he has gone past his peak now. We are wasting talent again with the way we have done it in the past. Yep. When you say you don't even need a fantastic coach to lead the England team, we had Gareth Southgate and he was a nearly man. We need somebody who knows knockout football. Thomas Tuchel's knockout football record is excellent. And it's a case of people are just moaning because he's not English. But here's the thing. I lost quite a bit of respect for some of the big podcasters and things like that, you know, the football commentators, when they were kept banging on about how good it would be for like Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp. And then when it's Thomas Tuchel, all of a sudden the question comes around, why is it not an English manager?
Yeah.
And you're like, right, so you just wanted Jurgen Klopp or Pep Guardiola, or it has to be a British person. They're trying to now use the nationality of the manager as a talking point when they wouldn't have had that issue with those other 2 managers.
Exactly.
So, for me, it's an 18-month contract. If he wins it, I think he stays. If he doesn't, I think he goes. I think it's win-win.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think it's just interesting that you were saying that about how it's either it's Pep or it's Klopp or it needs to be a British manager. But it's like, well, there's a reason that they're pundits and not coaches themselves, you know? Like if they were coaches themselves, they'd be even considered for the job themselves. But unfortunately, we've seen what some of them have done, how some of them have done in management, and it's not been very well. They've not done very well. So I think, you know, let them just be pundits for the sake of being pundits to get in the news about outrageous claims that they've made, such as now.
I just think it's a case of like, you know how to get your clicks, and that's fair.
Yeah.
I respect the game on that, but it's Thomas Tuchel is the best that was available in my opinion, and I do feel like he'd have gone to Man United if we didn't pull the trigger.
I think so as well, yeah. Although, I think they want to stick with Ten Hag because it's probably the cheaper, because they seem to be all about like they're doing this weird audit thing at Man United now, Ineos, and I just think it's the cheaper option to keep Ten Hag, but I know this is going on a tangent slightly, but I do agree that probably would have gone to someone like Man United or even not Man City, because they're about to get all those 130 charges put against them properly in a court of law, as they should do. But I would have seen him go into another Premier League club, definitely, if England hadn't have pulled the trigger. So I think we've done it at the right time. And frankly, it's ambitious. I think it's ambitious rather than the safe option. You know,
it's somebody who's won the Champions League. It's someone's got a good record in knockout football. It's a knockout tournament. It's the last hurrah of the likes of Harry Kane, probably. So I think you just go with it. You know, it's a manager that's probably one of the managers that's got a pair to drop Harry Kane if we have to. And the thing is, he loves Harry Kane, so he'll be able to utilize him. But where he can't, I think he's also got the backbone to drop him if he needs to drop him and rotate him. But he got those goals out of Harry Kane last season, playing the system he played at Bayern. You know, they didn't win anything last year.
Tuchel was the one that signed Harry Kane for Bayern, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's exciting. But yes, let's talk about Sheffield Wednesday. So Wednesday played Burnley after the international break.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel like this one went?
I was actually, it gives me a lot of optimism for the rest of the season, because we effectively matched Burnley like for like in ability and everything. It didn't seem at all like the Wednesday of last season, that's for sure. It seems like actually the team's finally clicking towards the sort of football Danny wants us to play. It's just that it was really annoying and frustrating in the fact that Jan Valery yet again let his constant habitual issue of losing focus then create an opportunity twice for Burnley to go and score. And that's just what happened. Burnley had that killer instinct to punish mistakes that they've kept from the Premier League, which effectively, if you actually look at the Burnley team, it's basically their Premier League side anyway.
Burnley, there's a reason Burnley are title challengers.
Yeah.
But it's a case of the first one, yes, it wasn't great from Valery. It's a switch off.
He just wasn't. He was looking at where he wanted to kick the ball, not the ball itself, and so that's why he's then scuffed it. And the Burnley striker's gone through and
we started the game really well, and it's one of those games where you feel like you need to finish your chances. Like Gassama, I really rate Gassama, but it's a case of he wasn't on top that game. Ugbo missed a sitter, and you think if that goal went in, if he just heads that a little bit lower, like he probably should have, because he had time there. It's almost as if he overthought it. That game's very different. But it is a case of, I will say Burnley were the better side. Watching it, Burnley were the better side. Yeah. They had more possession. They were better on the ball.
They were more
possession, and they were more.
Yeah.
And they forced the errors. You know, they were awake to the errors.
Yeah.
The second goal was a bit unfortunate because Beadle makes the save and then it comes in on the rebound, and you've even got a man on the line that can't stop it.
Yeah.
You know? So that's one of those where you take the second goal. The first one was a switch off, but we're playing these teams at the top of the table and we're not getting embarrassed. We're going. there is some entitlement in our fan base still. I don't know why. I just try not to look online now because it's like, oh, how is it this bad every week? Blah, blah. And I'm like, we're playing someone going for the title, guys. We just avoided relegation last season. Can we calm down? But yeah, in terms of the stats, we'll break into the stats. Like we had 13 shots to their 14. We weren't clinical. We had 3 shots on target. They had 6 shots on target, so they capitalised with 2 of those. I've noticed this recently, actually. Against some of the top sides, we don't dominate possession like we do against the other sides, which you would expect. The better players are going to dominate the ball more. Burnley had 62% possession to our 38. And, it did show over the course of the game, but we had 10 corners to their 3 and didn't capitalise off any of them.
And what really frustrated me as well is that we looked so dangerous when we were pressing, and then the same thing happened that's been happening week upon week upon week, where it gets to like the 20-minute mark and they just stop. They just stop the press. It doesn't seem like they've had any signal to do so. They just give up on pressing because they're like, oh, well, we've tried this for 20 minutes and it's not worked, so we'll just stop. Like, no. It's looked, you've been pressing for 20 minutes and you've almost scored like twice. You've had so many opportunities to score, and then they've stopped the press and just sort of sat back and let the other team come at them again. And then, oh look, that's when they start forcing mistakes out of us. But when we're actually pressing them, we're not making these errors to be capitalised on. And they've just stopped. And I don't understand why they can't see that they're going to get this breakthrough. Like, is it a stamina thing? Is it we're really tired now?
I think it is part of that, because if you think about the Leeds team under Bielsa, they were done by the second half of the season because they were pressing for 90 minutes. We do press for longer than that, Jack. I will counter that slightly, but I know what you mean about this lull spells where I think it would be okay if in those 20 minutes of dominance where we are pressing, we're lively, we're having chances, if we were taking our chances.
Yeah.
And that's possibly what happens. Like, you do see it. When we do take those chances, we also sit back because they do take a little bit more of a break. But so, there is that side of it. But I do see changes in the side. You're bringing the likes of Shea Charles in, you're bringing these players that have got the energy and are going to press for longer. It's just a case of getting it across the whole side.
But
I'm not bothered about the result, to be honest. It's one that I didn't expect us to win. I thought, based off our form, we could have probably got a draw or do half decent there. But the international break actually came at the wrong time for us. It interrupted our momentum a little bit. Yeah. So
I think
we've got to move on.
Yeah. What's frustrated me a little bit about the Valerie mistake for the first goal is that it's becoming habitual. We've seen so many times this season now where he's literally taken his eyes off the ball. He's stopped concentrating for whatever reason, and it's normally when he's doing the defending side of the fullback role, and that's what's caused errors, and that's what's been really kind of getting on my nerves, or what was getting on my nerves yesterday was that, yet again, this habitual thing that he's got when he's defending, he stops concentrating on it. He just thinks, oh, I know exactly where this is going to be. Oh no, I've made an error, and they've capitalised on it. Yes, it's not always led to a goal in the past, but we see, like the example yesterday, that occasionally it does lead to a goal, and that needs to get drilled out of him. He needs to get in his head about always concentrating all the time, and not having these moments where he's like, oh, whatever, I think I know where it is, that'll be good enough. And it's just, that's what frustrated me about it yesterday.
He's one of those
I'm not frustrated about the loss, I'm just,
no,
these individual sort of...
You picked him for your draft, by the way, just saying. There's a reason, I've got hiccups now, there's a reason he didn't fulfill his potential at Southampton, and I think it is that thing of on the defence. Attacking, he's a very good attacking player, but there's a luxury to that when you've got solid players behind you that can cover for your deficiencies there. So he does need to switch on more defensively. But again, not the end of the world. Let's factor that into the championship review. So these are the games that happened this week. So Leeds beat Sheffield United 2-0. Never really want Leeds to win, but we'll take that. Cardiff
we did
5.
yesterday.
We did. Cardiff 5, Plymouth 0. So Cardiff. Not great for Wayne Rooney's side there.
Oh yeah, no, it's not Plymouth
There's
anymore.
Been some weird
it's Wayne Rooney's Plymouth
this week.
Remember, it's just like it was Wayne Rooney's Birmingham and Wayne Rooney's Derby County. It's Wayne Rooney's Plymouth now. That's, they don't have any identity other than that these days until he gets sacked. But
can I also say there will be people that say we're talking over each other, or specifically I'm talking over you here. Whenever Jack's on the podcast, there's always a little bit more latency for some reason.
Yeah,
it's probably because I don't know. So we're not talking over each other. It just might come across that way on the podcast. Carrying on, Luton 3, Watford 0. I don't know where that's come from. Luton have been terrible this season, but Derby, it's a derby, isn't it? So
the what?
No. Don't start. You're gonna dig them out. You always do with that side. Yeah. Preston 1, Coventry 0. Oxford 1, West Brom 1. Oxford, so surprising this season. Stoke 1, Norwich 1. QPR 1, Portsmouth 2. Middlesbrough 0, Bristol City 2. Wednesday 0, Burnley 2. Blackburn 1, Swansea 0. Who we are playing next. Swansea there. Millwall 1, Derby County 1. And probably as you are watching this podcast, maybe Hull City, Sunderland is going off. So there is that to come. But where does that leave the Championship? Well, Burnley are top of the league with Sunderland yet to play currently, but Sunderland could go level with them. If they score 2 goals, they'll be level on goal difference as well. So they've got 21 points. Second is Sunderland, third is Leeds, fourth is Sheffield United, fifth is West Brom, and sixth is Blackburn Rovers. So Blackburn they're starting to pick things up again.
Yeah.
It leaves Wednesday in 18th on 11 points. 16th is also on 11 points in Stoke. Luton Town are on 11 points in 17th. And we are joint with Plymouth, who are also on 11 points. Below us is Millwall, Coventry, Cardiff, Portsmouth, and QPR. The team we play next have 1 more point than us. Swansea are in 13th. So it's very, very close and very, very tight after 10 games.
But ninth all the way down to, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I saw some crazy people saying, we could push for the playoffs. And I was like,
that's a conversation for later in the season, seeing where we are after Christmas.
I'm like, I actually if we did make a push for the playoffs and we, for some reason, miraculously got through the playoffs, I would be terrified with the foundations of the Premier League. It'd be great, obviously, don't get me wrong, but we are so underprepared for the next level. The amount of money you'd have to spend and it still wouldn't touch the sides would be terrifying.
My word. Yeah. Oh dear.
But
can you imagine Middlewood Road would be a Premier League training facility. Middlewood Road. Oh.
I think we'd finally buy somewhere else,
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into the news. So Danny Rull, this is from the Star. Danny Rull explains what Ugbo critics are missing in Sheffield Wednesday uplift. This is a quote from Danny Rull. Of course, we want to create more chances, and this is what we want to improve in front. But it's not just it's not just Ike. It's not just Ike. It's our winger positions, our 10 position. We have too many breaks in our games. The smart touches are at the moment not at the moment right, but he will come 100%. For the moment, we have 8 players for 3 positions. This is a challenge, and when you have to bring some players back, when you see how improved we are as a team, you will see more and more chances come and more chances go to the strikers and the wingers. Of course, Ike needs the support around him, end quote. What do you feel about Ugbo's form at the minute? Because obviously he was a big signing for us. He did very, very well on the latter end of the season, but he hasn't looked like the player he was, and obviously now the manager's coming out to protect him, as you would expect.
I think, personally, he's looking like a player that's very obviously not had much of a pre-season, and that's really hampered him. He's playing like someone that's got a lot of rust in his game because of the fact that he was cast so adrift by his previous club during the summer pre-season period and then wasn't able to have a proper season with us. And then I can understand as well if, like you were saying earlier with the Burnley game, that he was like overthinking the effort that he had when he missed the sitter with his head. The price tag that's been put on his head, the fact that there was so much hype around him moving to Sheffield Wednesday permanently on a long-term deal and all that jazz, that will be playing a factor in getting in his head as well. And so naturally it's going to lead him to overthink things when he's playing, and he's also not really playing his sort of fox in the box type role that he was so good at last season. He seems more of like a hold-up striker for the wingers.
We're not crossing as much.
Yeah.
This is the thing that I've got in the side. I'm looking at it like our wingers are becoming more inside forwards, and maybe they always were. It's the modern thing, isn't it? You have the inside forwards that cut in and take the chance. And we've got a poacher in Ugbo. We need people to hug the line and put crosses in, and he'll be there in the box for that. But we have got like Gassama and Masaba, and they like to be inside forwards. They like to cut across. But what happened last year, which was successful, was Masaba was doing in-swingers to find Ugbo. And I just think we need to be getting him back in those positions. Inside forwards are great in certain situations, but when they are not being clinical, which they aren't, you need to change it slightly.
And I think the problem is with the two of them as well, their decision-making isn't great. They play the inside forward role and then they get into a good attacking position. And then they don't know. It seems like they're flustered and they don't quite know what to do, so they hold on to the ball for far too long rather than distribute it to a striker or a number 10 or something like that. And that's what you can't do as the inside forward. You need to be fully committed. When you get that opportunity, you need to take it and not flounder and go, oh God, I'm just going to stand here and keep doing step overs for a while, and then
once you've cut across, the window is closing.
Exactly.
You either take the shot or you lay it off.
Yeah.
But they do dawdle on it. I'll agree with that.
And that's an issue as well, is that Ugbo's then not getting the service because the wingers are doing exactly that and dawdling and not making the decision. They're like, oh God, I've actually got past him. Oh no, what do I do now? And then they lose the ball. And that's a bit of an annoyance as well, I think. But
it's interesting, isn't it? Like when we talk about goals they've scored, like Gassama, he scored a screamer. But he's not scoring the goals when you cut across the box and you put it in the top corner or you slide it past the keeper.
Exactly.
They're not doing your your typical inside forward kind of goals. They're doing the ones off.
Yeah.
Like Masaba is arguably, when he's scored goals, scored a little bit more in that role. But it's a tricky one. I think we need to start playing in swingers again a little bit more. And you know who's really good at doing that? Marvin Johnson.
Yep. His crossing is sublime. Oh my word, yeah.
And I think that would be a benefit. For me, I like Gassama a lot. And certain sides, he's going to cause them problems. So I think if we're going to get the best out of Ugbo at the minute, I think you play Masaba on the right and get him to do what he was doing last season. Yes, you can cut in sometimes, but try and swing it in.
Yeah.
But Marvin Johnson is the left, and just find Ugbo in the box.
Yeah,
you know, you could even like.
I was even thinking of maybe playing Gassama as a number 10, rather than in central attacking rather than out wide, because he seems very good at. There was a couple of games ago, and he played that sort of a role, and he was fantastic at it.
It works if you've got the holding behind him. I'd say, it's a tricky one because like. You think about how lightweight that makes our midfield, because you've then put in a lot. But with Shea Charles, I'd be up for that. If we didn't have Shea Charles, I'd go no.
Yeah.
But we've got Bannon, who's obviously a bit lightweight, and Gassama, who would be lightweight. But then you've got Shea Charles, who can hold it. So I could see that, but for I don't know, I kind of want to see another striker up front with Ugbo as well. Yeah. But I think we still should have signed another striker in the window. I've got the question mark of is he going to recall Cadamartri in January?
He doesn't need to because we've got Charlie McNeil, but then I also think that he's kind of slowly drip feeding Charlie McNeil in because I think he's ready, but he's also not because I think the whole game he was quite shocked by the physicality of everybody. So I wonder if it's
the thing is though, Cadamartri is scoring goals now for Lincoln. If he keeps doing that, you send Charlie McNeil out on loan and bring Cadamartri back for me. Because McNeil's not playing, therefore he's not scoring goals. Therefore, we've got somebody who's scoring goals every week now for Lincoln. And even though it's a step up, I don't know, man. Like,
I still think it's really premature to be calling Cadamartri back now because I think he needs that constant. He needs to have that. He needs to have at least a half a season, if not a full season of.
No, you can't. We can't call him back now anyway. I'm talking about January.
Oh yeah,
yeah, in January because if we're not going to be able to spend on a striker and buy another option, if we've not got the funds to do that, we've got one that's scoring goals. So it's a no-brainer for me if that keeps happening, and we need to get more goals. It's something he's definitely going to be looking at. We'll see what happens. Yeah. But yeah, Ugbo, we just need to play to his strengths more. And as a fan base, I think we'll all get behind him anyway. But we need to make sure he doesn't become a scapegoat because we do have a few of those.
Yeah, Ugbo's going to come good. Like, there's no question he will come good because we saw what he can do last season, and
yeah,
he is still playing very well. It's just that I think he's overthinking his finishing a little bit too much. I think that's his big problem. He needs to just relax because he's at that stage where he just needs to score one and then the rest will come. As soon as he gets that first goal this season, he will be fine. It's that the anticipation of that first goal, I think, this season. That we were saying it about, do you remember when we got Lucas
he has
Zhao?
Scored, but obviously not really.
Yeah.
Not recently. Sorry,
when we first got Lucas Zhao, it was the same conversation. It was exactly the same conversation. It was like, oh, why have we signed him? But he scored the first goal that he scored back in 15-16, and then suddenly he was off to he was great after that. But it was just that build up to the first goal. Like, oh, when is he gonna score it? Have we wasted money here? Have we done this, that? And then he got the first goal in, and the goals came flying in after that. So it's just the same. Exactly the same thing again.
Well, that's the thing. It's funny, isn't it? Because Lucas Zhao was a free for ages. He's now playing in the Persian League.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he doesn't play for Portugal anymore now, actually. Apparently, I've just read. Does he play for that?
No, I think he's... I think
Angola.
It's... Yeah. I think he switched nation or whatever to Angola.
Fair enough. Apparently, he's on 780 grand a year.
Oh,
if you believe Google,
I wish I was. Jesus,
I know, right?
My God. Anyway, yeah.
The Star have also been talking to James Beadle, who said the following: the big things is the manager and the size of the club. The manager is obviously a really good tactician, but he also develops and helps players with their game, especially outfield players. He gives them such specific instructions and helps with things like body position, really technical things that help with all the different sides of the game. It's the size of the club too. You know, if you do well in the city, you'll be loved and they really care. It's a big thing. You know, they'll look after you when times are hard and they'll really love you when things are going well. That's really important. I think at the end of the day, if you want to play at the top level, the pressure is going to be even higher than Sheffield Wednesday, he said. You look at the guys playing at Manchester United and places like that, but it's important you get a taste for it when you're younger. Everybody gets criticised when you play football. Everyone wants to win and you feel that, end quote. So that's in reference to us bringing more Premier League players in. So Beadle gives us some insight there about how Wednesday have still sort of like got that pressure and they've got that, there's that attraction there to bring in more Premier League players. So do you think the young Premier League sort of players are going to be somewhere that we look at in January again?
I think it's going to be an excellent idea rather than going for like 30-year-old experienced at this level players like we've been signing far too many of over the past several years. And frankly, Shea Charles and James Beadle are both very, very strong evidence, and Charlie McNeil even though he's a permanent, but they're very strong pieces of evidence that actually say that it can work. and they're not all going to be lightweight and actually go, oh no, this is way too physical for me, I'm not used to this, and they'll just get stuck in and be ready for it, for the challenge, for the pressure. But I only would want to sign Premier League loan players if they were up for the challenge, rather than just kind of going, this is a career stepping stone. If they were actually up for the challenge of dealing with the pressure, like Beadle's been, like Shea Charles has been, then I'm all for it. And if they can offer that sort of I think what we're missing is a bit of a flair factor sometimes as well. And I think if there's one that can come in and offer that sort of a flair factor for us, I think that'd be exactly what we need in January.
Jake's not on this week, but I'll say what he always says. He always used to say how Sir Alex Ferguson would would like to think of Manchester United players coming to Hillsborough because of the expectation.
Yeah.
So we'd get young players through there. He always uses that line when we talk about young players. And it's not really changed. The expectation from our fan base is massive. But the problem is with social media now, it's also quite toxic when things go wrong. So
in fact, I think Arsene Wenger used to say the same as well. When he was the Arsenal manager, I think Arsene Wenger used to think the same as well about sending players to us on loan.
It's just a case of the expectations are always going to be massive. But the one thing I worry about is the other side of it now. With players being so chronically online, they're going to see it more. They're going to see the negative sides of it. But I think it's the market we should be going into. I think we should be looking at young Premier League youngsters in January still.
I do worry about that a lot, the social media thing, because I've been... It's kind of why I've been a bit reluctant sometimes to post anything on the Talking Wednesday Twitter as of late, which, if you're not already following, follow us at Talking Wed on X. Just because the fan reaction sometimes can be so unbelievably toxic for no real reason as well. And it's always the ones that don't have a profile picture, or they've got a profile picture of a pro footballer. Yeah. And they're probably 12.
Some people are trying to do it. Some people are doing that as careers, and maybe I'm a boomer, but I'm
it just
sad git. Why are you using somebody else's image and tweet it? It's always the same copy and pasted tweets as well, and it's just there's just no originality in it. But
or it's the brigade that are back in my day, when we were humping it up, we'd play with broken legs and blood dripping down our foreheads and it's great, good for you. But unfortunately, the game's moved on now. We're trying to actually play attractive football and technical football, and not just
stop passing it out from the bloody back.
Yeah, stop passing it out from back. Oof it up to big lad. Great. It frustrates me. And then the nothing burger criticisms that they have for players that they just don't like for no reason at all. And that's why I worry about young players that are always online and that are chronically online, like you say. It's we need to learn to be a bit nicer, I think.
I just don't think the world. I don't think the world is fundamentally. I think one thing we're falling into the habit of, we're actually producing nastier people because they think the online world is the real world.
Yeah.
People won't say. Some people will, but most people won't say what they'd say online in person. So the people that are growing up chronically online, they don't understand that's not how the real world works.
Yeah.
It's not, the real world hasn't changed, but some younger people coming through who have been chronically online growing up, they think it is. And I see more of a culture shock as they enter civilization, so to speak, And
then
it's
in person,
the dialects and stuff.
No,
it's like the dialects and stuff. When you hear them talking like absolute idiots, and then you're the modern world, the world still doesn't work like that. You can't just come in and start speaking like an idiot and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, what were you going to say?
It's just the chronically, I guess, the people that have grown up chronically online, and then they suddenly get into a real world scenario, and then they're so shocked that actually there are consequences to the things they say, and that there are consequences to their negative behavior if they've been negative chronically online growing up and all this, that, and the other sort of stuff. And then they get presented with a situation where they've behaved like that in real life, and then they're so unbelievably terrified by the fact that actually there are consequences to the things you say and do when you behave like that in the real world. And it's, I don't know. I don't really like that side of the online social media culture, I guess. But
no, it's always been like, I grew up in the times where it was just starting, really, in terms of, well, it's not really just starting. It was beyond the MySpace time. It was the Bebo days and the MSN days and that sort of thing. So it was a case of like, it was much more compact. And then obviously Facebook took off, and Facebook's where things started getting worse. And then, Twitter now is just ruined. It is ruined because it's very hard to, with all the stuff that's coming in, like to know what's true and what's not. And
exactly.
You can make mountains out of molehills and stuff like that. So yeah, it's scary, man. It's scary. Like it's one of those things that you obviously like, you always worry about when people are, you sound old when you say, oh, it's scary the way the world's going. But with stuff like AI and the way it is scary. Like, we aren't entering a space that everyone's going to do well in. I think we are, as a society, growing more where it's going to be more the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
And it's going to be much more on a wider scale as well. I think AI is actually going to create another level of sort of, this has gone way off topic now, but AI is going to create like another level of like maybe even class and things like that, because so many people aren't going to have professions because we're so like, oh, this AI is cool. So you've got little idiots that are just, they need to sanction it. Because like for art, for example, AI art is just theft, right? It's theft of loads of different ideas, and you lose the creativity. But then you lose all these designers that are going to do the work because, oh, that's too expensive because I can just get this program and have it do that.
Yeah.
Right? They're going into music now, right? We've always had AI tools in music since I've been studying it, right? They weren't really
auto-tune's one of the earliest AI tools for music, isn't it, really?
Yes and no.
To a point. Yeah.
Also, a lot of people misunderstand auto-tune. It's more pitch correction. Like most stuff you hear, unless it's Cher, that was auto-tune. Like, do you believe that is that's what auto-tune is. Most auto-tune, in inverted commas, is flex. So you're actually taking the pitch lines and you're moving them manually. And you'd even do that on a good take to make things sit a little bit better. But anyway, it's a case of most industries are going to have this AI coming in. It's going to make more people redundant. And then you've got people saying, oh, we need to have more kids and do all of this and and I'm like, we're bringing them into like a situation where we're making so many jobs redundant and people are just going to get poorer, you know? I don't know. I don't like the way the internet is going and all of that sort of stuff. We're losing. It's probably as good as it was going to get in the sort of early 2000s. Like, I think that span of like 2010 to sort of like 2016 was probably as good as it's ever going to get.
And anyway, I also think to sort of like kind of tie it back onto Sheffield Wednesday a little bit, but the way that you sort of look at, oh, they're just a Twitter bot or whatever, it seems like people are now going, oh, okay, well, because there's so many bots out there, we don't actually need to treat these other people that we interact with online and in social media spaces like they are actual real people, and so therefore, because they see footballers as they're just a football player that they watch on a Saturday, they don't see them as a human being, and so they don't talk to them online like a human being, and so they go overboard with the criticism and they just seem to think that they're shouting into a void, when actually no, when it's targeted at football players and it's so gratuitously over the top with negative criticisms for sometimes, a lot of the time, no real reason whatsoever, they don't seem to think that actually it's going to affect them because they are human beings. They don't seem to think
it's also a case of Twitter have monetized rage.
Yeah.
Twitter have monetized literally baiting people for interactions, because with the Twitter Blue thing, they've basically made it so you get monetary incentive from interactions. So if you say something absolutely ludicrous or baity to get reactions and get impressions, you're going to financially profit from that. So it's just toxic.
Yeah.
You know, you see it on every club's thing now. Every club's thing. Anyway, let's move on to something a little bit more to the heart, shall we? This is from the 72.co.uk. Former Sheffield Wednesday attacker Atdhe Nuhiu was retired at the age of 35, as confirmed by the club's official X account. The Sheffield Wednesday man has decided to call time on his playing career. He spent last season in the Austrian Bundesliga with Rheindorf Altach. Nuhiu, who made 19 caps for the Kosovo national team, spent 7 years at Hillsborough from 2013 to 2020. He was a great servant to the South Yorkshire outfit and went on to make 277 appearances in all competitions, chipping in with 50 goals before heading out the exit door. Atdhe Nuhiu. Jack. What a man.
I felt weirdly emotional reading it, actually, that he's retired. I don't know, because Atdhe Nuhiu is one of my favourite Wednesday players, like full stop. I put him up there with the likes of Jose Semedo, Michael Antonio, Gary Hooper in my favourite players ever roster, just because of how much he so deeply took to the club and cared about it and took it on as part of his identity almost, that he was a Wednesday player, whereas there's a lot of football players that just join a club and they're like, yeah, great, I'm at this club, whatever, I'm going to be at another one in 4 years' time. But Atdhe always put his absolute heart and soul into it, and even despite a lot of the criticism that he got because he couldn't jump, because apparently, according to certain groups of the Wednesday fan base, all he was meant to be is a big lad that heads it in like a big brick wall, and that's not at all the player that he was. They didn't understand the player that he was because he was so tall, but he was actually quite a skillful player. He was effectively the Michael Smith before Michael Smith. And a lot of people misunderstood that that's actually what he was. He was a hold-up striker that was meant to lay it off to the other players around him, and he was so good with his feet. He was so good at that. There's a reason that so many different managers wanted him in their side, no matter who it was. Like all the way from Dave Jones, all the way up to Gary Monk. Like, sorry, Andy, that I mentioned his name.
Dave Jones didn't have Nuhiu.
Yeah, he did. Dave Jones brought him in. Dave Jones was the one that brought him in and then got sacked a few months later. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I thought he made his debut under Carlos.
What? No. God, no. Atdhe Nuhiu has been around since our second, after the Gary Megson to then Dave Jones promotion, our second season in the championship that time around in 2013-14.
Not Carlos.
Stuart Gray.
Stuart Gray. I thought he made his.
He just scored a load of goals under Stuart Gray, but it was under Dave Jones.
Because was it QPR?
Yeah, it was QPR match? Away. It was that season when we had Wandisco on the shirts.
Of course.
With the blue top.
My brain's just gone for a second.
Yeah, but it was Dave Jones that brought him in, and then
was it Dave Jones?
Yep.
Seriously,
yeah. And then all the way through to Steve Bruce. All those different managers all wanted to utilise Nuhiu, and he stuck around during the COVID period when loads of players thought, you know what, this is a good opportunity to move on, isn't it? He stuck around, and I love him. He's one of my favourite ever Wednesday players, and I'm so sad. I mean, I'm so happy that he's retiring in such a good standing and stuff, but I'm so sad that he is.
I stand by the fact that he would have been fantastic for us when we went down.
Yeah. Oh, he would have been immense.
He would have been amazing in League One, and I think he'd have stayed. I think if we'd have offered him a deal, he would have played for us in League One, and he would have scored a lot of goals for us. But yes, I've got a lot of time for Nuhiu. He was that player that was very resilient. He got a lot of stick, and sort of didn't let it sort of let him wash over him, and he still had a love for the club, a love for the fans. And he he gave it his all, and then some days he did turn into an absolute baller. But yeah, technical player that didn't get a credit for being that technical. He was good with his feet, and not just for a big man. He was a good player with his feet. So, all the best, Nuhiu. And
actually, can I just add a little bit more as well? That basically, at the time that he was playing for us, I was in school, and I got very badly bullied at school all the way through school, and he actually became a bit of a role model for me because I saw how much stick he was constantly getting from loads of Wednesday fans and everything, like week in, week out. And the fact that he was just letting that wash over him and he continued to just prove his worth on the pitch where it mattered, that actually helped me a lot to get in that sort of a mindset of, it doesn't matter what all these, like, you know, teenage Jack was like, it doesn't matter what all these school bullies say and try and do and whatever else to me. I'm just going to stick at it and keep working hard and ignore all of that because I know what I'll be worth, you know, by the end of it, all that sort of thing. So he was actually a big role model for me to get through all of that. So he wasn't just a decent football player for Wednesday. He was a role model to a lot of people as well. And I just wanted to, if he even gets the chance to hear this, I just wanted to thank him for that too. Not only for the effort that he put on the pitch, but for the role model that you were to lots of like people, teenagers, whoever else was going through a time where they needed to be resilient. Because that's what he inspired a lot of as well in people, I think. But yeah, that's what I wanted to add as well on Nuhiu.
No, I'll leave it there on Atdhe Nuhiu. All the best. Moving on to Wednesday, have got a sponsor at the front of the shirt. This is from the club website. The Owls are delighted to announce that Mock Bar Modular are confirmed as the principal partner of Sheffield Wednesday. The partnership marks an exciting chapter for Mock Bar as the company continues to expand its presence in the football world. Mock Bar is an acronym for Mativ Office Construction, who manufacture with knowledge, bespoke design, and unrivaled adaptability. Managing Director Pavel Mativ pictured. No, you can't see the pictures.
Oh, yeah.
They said, at Mock Bar Modular, we are passionate about building strong relationships within the sports community. Our collaboration with Sheffield Wednesday reinforces our commitment to becoming a key player in the football industry by upgrading facilities for clubs and organisations across the sector. We are proud to be part of the Owls' journey and excited what the future holds for this new partnership. So, they're basically a facilities company or something like that. Am I right in saying?
So effectively, you know, all those the modular prefabby buildings that have all been put up at the training ground. I believe that's what they do.
Right.
So I wonder if there's because obviously
this
there was a lot of work in the
potentially
summer.
isn't a money deal.
So this potentially is like, oh, well, actually, you know, if you put up these new upgrades to our modular buildings at the training ground, we'll make you the shirt sponsorship, and then we don't need to pay you as much. Maybe that's a bit of a deal that's been done in the summer, but I don't know. It's an interest. It's just I'm just glad that we've got a sponsorship on the shirt again, rather than
it looks awful. I'm glad that we've got the sponsor.
It improves the home shirt somewhat. I actually think it looked like no.
It just looks bad. It's a bad looking sponsor. We've not had a good looking sponsor in a while. Like the A Up one was actually pretty good in terms of looks, but it's an horrible looking sponsor. But yes, it's revenue. We need revenue.
Yeah.
Better than not having revenue.
Exactly.
I don't like the home shirt anyway, and I'm not bought the away shirt. I've only bought the black shirt, and it's not got a sponsor on it, so I'll take it.
The home shirt's a bit of a dead rubber for me this year. I don't know. I just don't like the design. The design's really off. I mean, if you want to speak to anyone in length about how off the design for the home shirt is this year, speak to Lee Wildgoose, because he's very passionately against this current home shirt design.
I just think it's not a Wednesday shirt for me. It looks awful. It looks all right when you look at a picture of it, but then when you look at it from distance, it's horrible.
It literally looks like one of the cheap knockoff shirts that, you know, they've made a whole deal about, like, DH-gate shirts are going to get banned, like you're going to get turned away. It looks like a DH-gate shirt. It doesn't look like a real football shirt. Here's the problem I've got with that, right, as well, that I've been seeing more and more and more. People fooling people with it. This is the problem I've always had with counterfeit shirts.
people are buying them from DHgate and selling them on like Facebook to mothers and grandmothers and stuff like that for like 25 quid, going, oh, look, you can get this shirt here sort of thing. Oh, and because it looks official, it's in the bag, it's got the tags. It's sort of like, oh, you're getting a deal here. I just didn't want it. And you see the same people pop up and they've got all these bloody shirts. And you're like, sometimes they're almost indistinguishable. And I'm like, that's so annoying. And I'm against it for that reason. I'm not against people getting cheap shirts. I'm against human nature that will lead to people not knowing they're buying fakes or not knowing they're being gifted fakes. Yeah. That's what does my head in. Let's move on to this week's in football then. So, me and myself and Jake will be doing coverage of the Swansea and Pompey games. We're just sorting out the actual logistics on who's doing what. I think I'll probably take Pompey though. I think I've got Pompey. We've got currently, I think Jake's doing Tuesday and I'm doing Friday. That might change. But yeah, speaking of, I'm not on the podcast next week, so you and Jake will be recapping both of these games.
It will be a Jake and Jack episode next week.
Indeed, but
yes.
Swansea and Pompey, obviously two sides that are down there. You know, in the pack with, well, Swansea, obviously, I said we're in 18th and sort of thing. I think, well, not 18th, they are 13th, sorry. We're in 18th. But Pompey have only got 8 points this season. What are you feel? How many points are you thinking from these next two games?
I think I'm sort of caught. I'm in between either 4 and 6. I'm like 60% on the side of 4 points rather than, and 40% on the side of 6. You know,
I think it's 6.
I'm caught.
I'm gonna back the lads. I think it's 6.
Yeah.
Portsmouth might have beat QPR last time out, but before that they didn't. That's their turn of form.
Yeah.
I think we have got the quality to get 6 points here, and it will be a telling sign of can we beat the teams. Like, I've not been impressed by Swansea. Swansea have obviously got one more point than us. They've just lost to Blackburn. You know, their recent fixtures, they went into the international break. They had some tough fixtures, to be fair. Drew with Bristol City, lost to Sheffield United. They drew with Stoke. It could be a bore draw with Swansea. There is that. So it could be 4 points in that regard, but they've lost to Blackburn. I reckon we'll do all right, you know, and 6 points would be very nice. I'll take 4. I won't be moaning at 4, but it's got to be at least 4 for me. I
will say, Swansea's beaten Coventry, but then Coventry are really on a bad run of form and it's going very, very toxic in their fan base against their manager actually at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not
an
interesting. You're pushing me towards 60% the other way around, like 6 points now. Thank you, James, for filling me with optimism.
Well, if you go off the probability stats, we've got a 41% chance of beating Swansea and a 28% of drawing, a 31% chance of losing. So
there we go.
Even the stats predictions are putting us on that side. But yes, that is all I've got this week for this week's episode of Talking Wednesday. Jack, anything to add before we wrap up today?
Just that it's nice to be back again. I've actually missed being on the podcast, so it's nice to be back again and stuff. And yes, just thank you for not forgetting that I exist out there, people.
It's nice to have
everything.
you back, and actually doing an early morning podcast is quite ideal with you because you're not full of energy, which is good. Because
I've calmed down a bit. I don't know, but I don't know if it's because I'm 26 in February or what. If it's the frontal lobes fully developed, and now
let's not talk about birthdays next year, please.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Seriously, I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if I've been humbled by the fact that so many people are now getting engaged, pregnant, or whatever, or buying their first house with their romantic partner, and it's just sort of like,
you've hit that now, like
it feels really bizarre, and I'm just like, okay, I mean, enjoy being single parents in 5 to 10 years time anyway, but there we go.
Jesus Christ!
I mean, it doesn't last. A lot of the time, it doesn't last. It's you know.
But it'll last for a good while. Like a lot
that's
of
my copium. Let me have my copium, James.
You do get the sign. Like there is a few that I know on Facebook who I'm not going to shave anyone sort of thing, like, and not shave a lifestyle, but there is a few that you do see of like, oh, you've just had another one. Who's this time? That sort of thing. And another engagement ring. What's going on? And then you see the pattern over a while sort of thing. And I'm like, you know what? Each to their own. But yeah, I'm probably one of we haven't bought. We've not had a kid. And we're not engaged. So like I'm bucking the trend on that sort of thing. But I've always been the pragmatist of everything's got to be in place for me to do things like that.
I feel sort of the same. Yeah.
Some people would call it responsible. Some people say you just have to dive right in. So lots of different things.
I think it's that sort of age, isn't it, though, where people are sort of like, oh, I'm an adult. I can propose to my partner now. Oh, that's what I'm going to do. Oh, my God. And then they realize, actually, oh, I didn't want to be married to that person. I just wanted to be married. And that's, I don't know, that's a bit of a thing. Can you tell I've been advised by older people that are like, stop worrying about it. You know, your time will come. But that's just I don't know. Ugh, weird. It's a weird feeling. But
Anyway, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for tuning into this week's episode of the Talking Wednesday podcast. I'll see you in a couple of weeks, but the boys will be back next week. Take care, guys, and we will see you in the next episode of Talking Wednesday.
See you next week.